Now, essentially, I think overall, Bersih 2.0 will say that we are deeply disappointed at the blatant misuse of state apparatus, which violates, in our view, the Election Offences Act during the recent Sarawak elections. And we are very concerned because we have received reports of instances, and certainly from what we have read, it is clear that the Election Commission has failed to act independently as it is required by law and by the Federal Constitution to do. Now, the abuses of power, I have set out some of the instances. These are not all. These are just some of the reports. But we have received reports of many incidences that would constitute abuse of power by the civil servants. Now, we have seen this happen in Sarawak in particular, where civil servants and the federal and state executives have openly campaigned for partisan interests. And this, we feel, is a terrible abuse of power. We have also received allegations, including a revelation by a Kapitan, a Chinese community leader, that the government personnel, including the special branch officers from the police and the military, were stationed in longhouses in Sarawak. Now, we must appreciate that in Sarawak, situations are slightly different. So what we received reports that they were stationed in longhouses in the last few days of campaigning, and we can only surmise and conclude that this is with a view to intimidating the voters. Now, there are numerous other reports of abuse of power. For example, using of government machinery, government apparatus, government vehicles, etc., to promote the cause of the partisan of a particular interest.
Expectation that the election commissioner will actually be fair to all the contending parties in the election. I suppose you can easily imagine how other countries do it better. They would easily invite people who are expert in election, in laws, for instance, Dr. Mbiga, to be an election commissioner. In fact, that is done in the last place I went for election monitoring in Aceh. It's an NGO who was working with us a few years ago, and now he's the election commission. And so that's how other countries are doing that. So the second part is the legal framework. The main point that is problematic in that area is basically that actually I am quite happy to hear in a way that the MACC even make a comment about the Election Offences Act. I think in some of the forum by civil society in Kuala Lumpur before, you have a spectre of the Election Commission saying we don't have investigating power. They push the enforcement of the law to the MACC, and then you have the MACC officer saying that, okay, we only deal with the Anti-Corruption Act and not the Election Offences Act. So now we have a situation where there is a law where nobody bothered to enforce it. And that's why if there is a comment that the MACC can offer, well, we really have to be thankful that they started to take interest on something that they have disowned before. So that said, that doesn't mean that their view is definitely correct. As Dr. Mbiga has said very correctly, and this is one of the insistence by us that there should be free and fair election, is that even beyond the law, free and fair election is required by our constitution. So even if like certain instances of practice which is not specifically mentioned in the law, in the spirit of free and fair election, we still should uphold them. And the Election Commission have no, no excuse not to look at them, because they are the only body entrusted to enforce free and fair election. So we do have a void in the law enforcement. Of course, that one is, doesn't exclude the other aspect of the weaknesses of the law. For instance, the financial account from the candidates do not include the parties can expenses, and also the expenses account is not actually audited. So there are a lot of weaknesses in the law, and so I think there are probably quite a lot of discussion you can do about the legal framework. So, but I just want to highlight the problem here. And then the next category of problem is the electoral roll itself. So this time around, or rather all along, the electoral roll has been faulted for many things. Like for instance, a lot of people's names are not found there, and a lot of voters are not registered. And this is a particularly big problem in Sarawak, where in the rural area, where most of the seats are, less than half the citizens are registered. So you're talking about an election where most of the people are kept out from voting. So even before the election start, it's not free and fair. It's not representative.
Oke, saya Matang Enjau, penduduk Rumah Badang. Saya membuktikan karena saya ada menerima uang ringgit, 20 ringgit jumlah dari kampanye BN tempoh hari sebelum mengundi lah. Jam saya terima itu jam 8 malam dari Andrew Balan dari kampanye BN. Sama ada itu uang dari BN, tapi saya tahu dia punya kampanye yang bagi saya, itu yang saya terima. Itu saja pengakuan saya.
Boleh kamu kata tare dan tempatnya?
Tare dia 15.000 bulan, dan tempat dia di Rumah Badang.
Di rumah kamu lah?
Ya.
Oke, terima kasih banyak. Boleh start.
Dekat Umalahnan 16 bulan 4 tahun 2011, dekat pembuangan undi Umalahnan jam 9 lebih lah. Saya diugut oleh seorang cikgu tadika, nama juga payah lah.
Sebaik-baiknya bagi nama lah, kalau tidak itu ugutan tidak.
Oke, nama cikgu tadika tuh Longding. Dia mengugut saya supaya saya memilih barisan nasional lah. Dia kata dengan saya, kamu jangan salah pilih kalau membuang undi, sebab anak kamu yang pergi interview maktab tempoh hari, kerjaan akan dapat kesan kalau kamu mengundi pembangkang, kata dia. Dan anak kamu yang 2 orang kena bantuan IKC, dia orang akan dapat kesan kamu kalau kamu mengundi pembangkang. Macam tu dia cakap dengan saya tempoh hari. Jadi saya pun tidak juga jawab dengan dia, saya cuma diam saja. Itu saja.
Jadi macam mana dia tahu kamu mungkin undi pembangkang tu?
Dia kata dia dapat kesan dari raut muka saya. Dia dapat kesan dari gerak-geri seseorang, kata dia. Itu dia dapat kesan.
UMNO Malaysia.